hats off to Lee Trotman, because I don't know how he sit down and write 143 pages of report and know that nobody ain't gonna take he on and don't lick off nobody's head. If there's any way that we could get the legislation or the constitution change to give the Auditor General more power behind the findings that he discovers, I think we will go a long way. Barbadians come up with so many innovative solutions, and we table them, we discuss them, we even have persons going to the point of showing how these solutions can work, and yet they're not implemented on a wider scale. And welcome to Crystal Clear, my new show that will be going through the Auditor General's report with you for the first couple of episodes, and then after that we'll be having some interviews with other persons who can help you to better understand a lot of the issues that's been going on in Barbados today. So this particular episode is going to start going through the Auditor General's report for 2016. You would have heard my previous video where I went through the 2015 report. I would have realized from that there are a lot of issues that would help the Barbados economy greatly if they were addressed. To give you a bit of a background, the Auditor General's report, I have a copy of it here. It is prepared by Lee Trotman every single year. He is the main man and commander for that particular office. And what they do, they go through the financials for the government, and they tell you if they're good or if they ain't good, and if they got issues, they will tell you what is that need to be cleaned up, and give a whole set of findings so that you'll be able to see for every single area of the financials what is that you gotta do to get everything in order. To give a bit of background on financials, we have, for instance, an income statement, and the income statement simply shows you what money you've made and how much money you just spend. And he will have findings for each area in that statement. And then we have, for instance, a statement of financial position, or what somebody would call a balance sheet, or what other people will commonly known as retainers tell you what things you own and how you get them things to be owned and all that fancy stuff. So for instance, you might have as an asset cash in the bank, a house, a car, all sorts of assets. You might got a business that got some stock in it, and all of that would be considered assets. And then on the other side, because for everything that is a positive, you always got negative, you will have the things that will show you your liabilities, for instance. So to get that car, most people ain't got the kind of money to be able to just pick up a car and buy it cash, so you probably went to a bank and owed the bank a little money for the car that you got as an asset. Or if you got house and land, more than likely, you know, unless you're one of them very fortunate people, you went and get a mortgage for that too. You owe this body, you owe that body, all of that would be there as well too. So the Auditor General will go through all of that as well too. And this report, as you can imagine, is on a humongous scale, because the things that the government own, the revenue the government makes, the expenses that they have, it's on a much wider scale. So he has his work cut out for him, being able to go through all of those things to be able to say what position we in. So I will start with the revenue, which is the money that Barbados earn or met for the year. So overall, revenue was $2.56 billion, and it was actually $137 million more than you would get last year. So you were saying that that increase is mostly due to increases in taxes. The problem is that the increases get offset by a whole set of decreases. So the part that is the non-tax component, that part went down by about $117 million. So all the revenue that you would get from anything other than taxes, that went down. The other part that we have to make special mention of is that although this is more than we would get last year, this was $109 million short of what you would have budgeted for in the estimates. So just going to say that you're not meeting what it is that you expected to get. He also has a figure for the expenditures that we would have had for the year, the money that you spent, and that was $3.34 billion. And it was $201 million more than last year. So you got for the revenue, 137 more than you thought, but the expenses was $201 million more than you thought it would be. So you can already see that didn't really work out too good for we to begin with. The biggest contributing factors to this would be goods and services. So that was $48 million that get spent there. You had a loss on investments, unfortunately, about $35 million in loss. You had some grants to the tune of $111 million. And again, the expenditure recorded was $137 million less than the revised budget amount. So that actually wasn't too bad. The financial statements, though, everybody know that we got a deficit. So this ain't no shock or no surprise. But the deficit has been really, really out of control, as we know. Again, these things in the secret. But over the last 5 years, he would have had the figures for the deficit. So in 2012, you would have had $382 million. You went up, and it actually seems as though it's coming back down a bit, but it really is not as in a position where we could say that we out of the woods yet. So right now, the deficit standing for 2016 at $672 million, and last year it was $697 million. So it coming down, but we know that we really, really need to get a lot better than that to bring it down to something that you'll be comfortable with. So we got some notes here to the financial statements as well, where he would be going through some key problem areas that he thought needed to be brought to everybody's attention. So as most people will know, in recent times, the government has been relying a lot on short-term borrowing to be able to finance. So instead of going and getting, say you got a mortgage, you got a house, and you trying to get this here interest paid back, instead of going to the bank and get a mortgage, which would be considered long-term debt, you might be going and borrowing a little piece here from a friend, and borrowing another piece here from a friend, and then kind of things don't work out because, number one, it's hard to manage. It sometimes it's be at a higher interest rate than what you can get if you went into a long-term borrowing plan. And we know that they got certain issues that we have right now because of the downgrades and everything is the reason why we might not be able to get the kind of financing that would be ideal. But as the report says, this is the situation we're in. The report will also go into suggestions for what you can do to be able to get around some of these areas. So we get to that at the end of this section. The other area they mentioned was equity investments. So the financial statements had in some equity investments about $379 million. And what we mean by equity investments, if you got a house, that's considered an investment in equity. That's one of the simplest examples. Land, things that tend to go up in value as opposed to like a vehicle that by the time you drive it off the lot, sometimes the value of the vehicle done gone down. But when we say equity investments, that's what we mean. Things that can probably go up in value or you hope will go up in value as you put your money into them. So you had equity investments of $379 million, but further disclosures as to the method that they use to recognize the investments a little shaky. So in accounting terms, you can't just say that you buy a house for $300,000 and you just record it at $300,000. There are usually valuations that are done, and the specialists will got their methods and be able to determine how much this house actually worth. So you may have bought it for $300,000, but it actually worth $400 million by the time they done do their valuations. This is why the report is saying, even though you got these things from the books, that they may know how them come up with these values, and they ain't necessarily correct. The next thing we're going into is some joint ventures, and make a quick breakdown of what a joint venture is. This one that they give as the example is the one with LIAT. So the government, as most people know, the government got some kind of partnership deal, joint venture going on with LIAT. Then got an investment in LIAT that totaling $145 million. But they got some contingent liabilities that the government incur that will impact the interest in this joint venture. Now, what do you mean by contingent liabilities? Let me say that you're planning an event, and the likelihood is that it may or may not rain. Now, if it rains, certain things gonna happen. They got certain expenses you might got incur to be able to make sure that your event still get pulled off. So if it didn't rain, you won't gotta rent the tank. But if it does, you gotta rent one. What we like you to do is to plan basically for the worst case scenarios. So that money that you will go spend on a tank in case it rain, you should be recording that. Now, you got contingent liabilities here, and we ain't know what it is. We just ain't got no figure here. But you got this investment. We don't know how much it can impact it. Them is the kind of things that you got serious problems with. Now, we're moving on to what we're calling the pay master account, which totaled $359 million. This had in unpresented payable orders, pension checks, uncleared wire transfers, all kind of things. Now, nobody ain't actually put these towards the bank account yet, but only when declared at the central bank is when you could put these through. So the outstanding amounts therefore represent a liability. And a liability is, again, one of them things that we would like to know about upfront, so that if it actually happened, somebody come now sometime down the road and say, yeah, Krystle, I might not to give you that check last week, but I come in to cash it now. And you ain't plan for it because you ain't decide to put it inside your little budget or memory plan or whatever it is that you got. So now you got however much money this body come and call for, because at the end of the day, the money belong to them. So when you got sent to the tune of $359 million, I think that's how you should get sorted out. I know. I ain't the expert. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the comments before, so I apologize to all of the people who watching. I looking at the now. So, yeah. Thank you, Alan Wilkie, Real Estate. Yep. Unfortunately, down by 60%. I don't have any figures to be able to verify that. And I didn't realize that it was down by 60%. So, but thank you. The next area that is of concern, the need for the consolidation of government financial statements. No. If you want to be able to say what position you're really in, let me say that we got a family picnic, and you know that everybody's supposed to be bringing something to the table. But you know you're going to always got somebody in the family picnic that ain't looking to bring nothing but looking to carry away. And you got that there plan out. So I know that Auntie A going to bring chicken, and Auntie B going to bring pie. But you know Auntie C going to bring an empty Pyrex dish. No. You want to make sure you put all of these things together so you got an idea of what your total position is at this picnic. Good. Now, we got a problem here where, you know, the government got enough entities all over the place. And you will want all of these entities to come together so you can know what government position really looking like at the end of the day. They got a number of large entities who would not submit information for the life of day. And the Auditor General calling them out. The Barbados Agricultural Management Company, the Barbados Water Authority, and if one have been following the news, you all will know that there are some statements that was made by the new management as to the position of the Water Authority and was expected to happen. So you will want to really know, bring them in so that you could get an idea of how much this can impact the overall picture for the government. You got the National Housing Corporation, Sanitation Services Authority. The information that he get say that they got a lot of large outstanding liabilities which need to be monitored over time. And in many instances, you could not be able to give direct responsibility to the state. And it also had to confirm the absence of the consolidated financial statements, the impact this could have on the government to be able to make vital and important decisions. And I think that goes without saying. When you hear some of these entities that get called, you might think that you're in a decent position, or sorry, we already know it's a deficit. So let me not pretend it's decent. You got a deficit of X. and we see that it seems as though the deficit had gone down. But by the time you bring in these people now, you deficit a lot worse than you would have imagined. So then how do you make sure that you plan for these things properly if all of these people not brought in? The next area, we mentioned contingent liabilities. So we got that explanation down pat. There is a figure here for pending lawsuits of $118 million that ain't recorded. Now, if these lawsuits, and I know people saying, yeah, lawsuits don't really happen in Barbados or whatever the case may be. Yeah. If these things had to happen, though, that's $118 million that you ain't really plan for, that you ain't account for in your financials. That if it actually had to happen, you can imagine the impact that gonna have. So bearing in mind that deficit that we say actually looking a little better, it might actually be a lot worse than what people are expecting. And these are the kind of things that you really need to know. I ain't trying to make the position of Barbados look worse. We ain't trying to do that. We're just trying to say we need to know where we actually is so that we could plan better for what it is that are coming ahead. And you can't really plan properly if you got all these kind of things not being recorded. Next one, provision for bad debts. No. You lend your cousin some money and you already know you ain't gonna get it back. So what you do, you don't keep it there as something that you expect to get. You make a provision. And then you got other people you might lend money to and you ain't sure if they can give you back, but you know there's a good likelihood that some ain't gonna give you and some, might pay you back. But what you do, you make a general provision just in case so you don't be so optimistic. That auditor, accountants and things just try to always be conservative and be on the safe side. We don't want to count with chickens before the hatch. So we will make a provision for these bad debts that we think that might happen. And if you get the money, well, praise God. Always happy for that. But in this case, we had a provision for $7 million and nobody know where this number come from. Because you don't just pull a number out of thin air. You got to come with reason and logic for what you think that this is the amount that would be an adequate provision. And when it get to the section that talking about the actual accounts receivables and what really going on there, you might be able to sit down and think that this $7 million really ain't cutting it. So we'll break for a commercial and we'll be right back.
Beautiful Barbados and 4D Entertainment welcome you to the Flow Soca on the Hill, Sunday, July 23rd, 2017, where the mega stars of Crop Over 2017 assemble with the Caribbean's best, Patrice, Skinny Fabulous, Ricky T, Orlando Octave, and Ultimate Rejects to bring you the world's greatest soca party, the Flow Soca on the Hill. Let's gather the people.
I thought it was true. I thought one was closer and one was wide.
When we are some Johnny Walker, drinking some fire water.
One was for wide. So.
When we are some Johnny Walker, drinking some fire water. With a bunch in 30, when we are some Johnny Walker. Pick up our drinkers in at this place right now. I got all of that yellow wine while I'm drinking some fire water. Energy got me feeling so high.
East Point Productions Inc. presents Walking in My Own Shoes, a jazz and vocal showcase featuring Kelly Cadogan, Voices 101, Sheena Rose, and Kwaku Jelani, with guest appearance by Nikovia. Sunday, June 11th, 2017, Frank Collimer Hall, tickets $50, $25 for children 12 and under. Available at A&B Music Supplies Sheraton, All Things Gospel, and CS Pharmacy on Broad Street.
Hey guys, it's your girl Krystle D here, welcoming you to another episode of The Daily Scoop.
I have 4 children, but I was also only child, so I understand.
So you understand my dilemma?
I understand fully.
I'm going to say this because I want people to know I have said to do not ask me about my license. I had said, do not ask me about my license.
Well, Dice Brown is an actor, writer, director, poet, stand-up comedian, producer, and also a generally fantastic, lovable guy.
The lie is,
You were an athlete. You were.
I did not expect that you would buy that.
I didn't eat curried cockroaches. They weren't curried when I ate them. Just kidding. Just kidding.
We are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on this station.
Hey, welcome back everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the first half and now we're going to dig into the second half. Now, something I forget to mention because, you know, you get real excited when I see all these numbers I got to rattle to winner. But one thing I must point out is that the Auditor General, his office is severely understaffed. The man's supposed to got 39 staff and he only got 11. And I don't know how he working with a little bit of people and still produce all of this. This is real enough report, yeah. Like, this is real enough stuff to write. And I think he would have a better time if he had to write a report about what going right as opposed to what going wrong. Unfortunately, that's not the way how it works. Because if you just write about what going right, then people will feel as though nothing bad don't happen in BIM, and we won't try to fix nothing. But thank you again, Lee Trotman, for all the work that you do. The people of Barbados owe you a significant vote of thanks for having the fortitude to be able to sit down and write all of this stuff. Now, I told you about the recommendations. The recommendations you have for them things is to try and disclose the things and to make sure that you record all the liabilities and everything else that you're supposed to record. Fairly simple, right? Because we got to try to get through the low-hanging fruit before we try to get any deeper. Now, the next section that we're going into is related to most people's favorite section, money that people owe government and all sorts of things that really seem kind of fishy because you got some balances that outstanding since Adam was a lad and you ain't seeing nothing coming forward. Just before we get into that, we got a section here called unauthorized advances. As I see that, I looking at this like, what's really going on? They reported $326 million in advances. $213 million of this amount was related to a debt that the government decided to take up for the Barbados Agricultural Management Company. These are not advances and should not have been reported as such. There was no evidence to say that the remaining 133 was approved by Parliament. Yeah, just let that sink in. On to the other outstanding loans. There are cumulative advances outstanding as at March, totaling $984 million. Not real enough money, but we can give the Auditor General got some information on some of these advances here. So you got the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. Government make a whole set of advances to them over the years, and the amounts outstanding was $141.5 million. And I remember reporting about this here last year. The accrued interest is $19.35 million. There is no contract. I don't know how you spend this kind of money and you don't have a contract, but we didn't know that from last year. So I know again also. But they had a contract last year, so they didn't magically be in a contract for this year neither. Just guilt money just so to tune of $141.5 million. You gotta laugh, because if I don't laugh, I will start to cry. They ain't get back no money. None. Last year, this was the same amount from last year. They ain't got back the money then. They ain't got back the money now. I guess if they ain't hear my last year review and run to at least pay back a little $50 something, anything, nah, I guess not. The next body is the Small Hotel Investment Fund. Now, in April 2007, there was an agreement between government and these people for a loan of $28 million. So yeah, they had an agreement. The interest rate was 2.5 million. And I want people to note the years as well too. 2007. So you know which administration this was under, but at least this one had an agreement. And again, a 2.5% interest, which I can't tell you if that's good or not. I guess because of who the nature of who it is, you try not to joke with people. But that being said, the terms of the agreement was that the repayment was supposed to start by December 2010. As at March 31st, 2016, they may get back the same. So the interest that then got pandaded is $36 million. Yeah, I don't know why they may pay back the money, because that was not what the agreement was saying. They give them barely time, because between 2007, you have from 2007 to 2010 to use the money to go and catch yourself and met saying happen. And again, not even a little $50 you could have paid back to at least fool the people that you train. Something, anything. Anyhow, next one is Four Seasons Development Project. And every time I go down the bottom of Yui Hill, this one's break my heart. Now, in this particular one, the government guaranteed a loan for these people of $120 million. So this is to say, nobody don't do this for me. I take out a loan for $120 million, and the government, the student loans, how you got guarantors, and if the student decide that he ain't paying it back, you know what they're going to do? Take out the guarantors and try to make them pay it back. So that's what happened to government. Government decided to go and take out as a guarantor for $120 million. And as everybody in the world could see, that project went belly up. So you know what the bank do? Bank called the loan. So then government end up paying out, wait, I turned too fast here. Yeah, the government went out and had to go and pay out $124 million through its holding in Clearwater Bay. So, you know how much of that money government get back? Yeah, none. Just in case one was wondering. They didn't get back nothing. $124 million that just gone the way the highway. And for the past 4 years, government ain't get nothing. So government had to suck up on that one all by themselves. Rural Development Commission. Them got $6.4 million. He could have put that one first, so we could start with the little small ones and get eased into all this thing. And no, after you call all these other numbers, $6.4 million don't sound so bad, but yeah, $6.4 million since 2012, and he ain't getting the money yet. Nothing. Sanitation Service Authority, $4.2 million. They had this amount owing since 2013. They ain't pay back nothing neither, but we know, at least we know the Sanitation Service Authority is struggling for real. Them struggling. I ain't saying that they shouldn't pay back nothing, but I think all the Barbados know that they're struggling. And I also want to take this time to plug and give the men a really good shout out, because I know that men is work real hard collecting garbage and hardly got any resources. And I'm real grateful, because I would have get frustrated, and I would be real frustrated. So I'm real grateful that one of them still doing the job and give me a smile sometimes when they see me and see other people. Hats off to winner. Next one, Needham's Point. No, this is the tickly one, because this is the one that's supposed to be getting sold for $100 million. I ain't know where they get this $100 million price tag from. I ain't know who do the valuation for this property. And I ain't trying to tell nobody what they're supposed to value nothing at, but it seems as though everything's selling for about $100 million. So, like I said, not my area of expertise, so I can stay in my lane. But as at 2004 and 2005, they had an amount for $4.6 million that them get from government. It was supposed to be carrying an interest rate of 2.5. As at March 2016, it is $6 million, because they ain't pay back the money, and obviously the interest, the billing up. So I wondering when them sell this, if this thing getting taken into consideration, how that going work out, if that get considered at all, or if that money can just dead in the sale. I don't know. I got weird questions, but I ain't got no answers. So That's it in terms of the major offenders for accounts receivable. And the thing that I would like to point out as well is anything you see in the Auditor General's report, significant. So don't let nobody tell you, but hold on, these is big numbers that we're accustomed to. What you expect from the government of Barbados that dealing with all this kind of money? Yeah, got a little $1 million here and a little. No. If it met the report, it's important, it's significant, whether in just amount or the impact that it will have in terms of riskiness. If it in here, it was worth mentioning. They got probably a lot, I know they're gonna got a lot other receivables that he could have called and mentioned, but they would have just be too much, or the individual amounts was not worth mentioning in comparison to what you would like people to focus on. You can't put everything in the report because then the big things might get lost with. So don't let nobody tell you that when the Auditor General report is not important. Just let them know that part one thing. Next section is related to assets. Now we went through assets at the beginning. They explain, when you got your car, your house, you stock that you got for your business, all them kind of things is assets. Cool. Accommodation advances. Now, if you're a public officer in government, you get some advances for accommodation and stuff when you're traveling and doing business on behalf of the crown, which makes sense because if I got inconvenience and take up my life to go and do work for you, you at least make sure that I got somewhere to put my head when night come, at the very least. The advance account reported a balance of $1.8 million as at March. The figure included a number of accounts with a total balance of $649,000 on which no activity occurred during the year. So they're saying that because of this lack of activity, it would suggest that not all the expenses have been reported when officers return from travel. So basically, that means that this expense should actually be a lot higher. And people need to go out and report the expenses. Because when you got things like this going on, that means that at some point he might come with some expense that need to get reimbursed, and you really ain't prepared for that amount that you're supposed to be dishing out. Again, we see how much for all the other things, when you start to add up all of these things that people not reporting or recording or not taking into account, your deficit that looked like it was not that bad in comparison to other years, looking even worse. So the measures that you're putting in place to be able to tackle that deficit might not be sufficient once all of these things start to get cleaned up. Sinking fund. Now, to explain a sinking fund, this is basically like your emergency money. That is the simplest way that I think I could break that down, and hopefully not diluting too much of what the actual meaning is. But think of it like your emergency fund that you set aside, and a lot of women are real good at this. You will got, say, $5,000 in the bank that if something happen, God forbid, you covered, and you go through life like if that money don't exist. A lot of women, if you ain't doing that now, people, sorry, in general, if you ain't doing it now, try to start building a little private sinking fund for yourself. No. This is money that the government has set aside so that they could repay certain debts, like the treasury notes and the debentures, all the things that, then got there in case somebody decide that they come and cash that in. Some of these funds are invested, well, piece is in cash. No. They've got their rules as to how much you can keep as cash and how much you can invest, because you don't want to invest so much that if somebody come for the money, you can't just pick up and sell things just so most of the time. So that's why they got certain rules as to how much you can invest and how much you can keep liquid, because you can't just keep cash, because cash don't earn an interest, cash don't earn nothing. You need to do the investment so that you can actually make some money off of these things, but not to put so much in that you ain't got no sort of backup money in case you need it. Cool. I had explained the general ledger in one of my earlier videos, but I can explain this thing for one again. You got something called a subledger, and the subledger is got all of your details. So if I have 50 people that owe me money, I will got the names of all 50 people and how much they owe me, and all of the details for that is my subledger. The total at the end of the day is part of what will go into my general ledger. So all the people that owe me money add up to $5,000. I got my sub-ledger for the people I owe money to. So I got the details of all them people, and that total add up to $3,000 because I'm not that irresponsible. So I got my $5,000 from the people that got money for me. I got $3,000 from people I owe money to, and I take all of them summaries and I will put them numbers in my financial statements. So you see how you got your sub-ledger, you got your totals, your summary totals for your general ledger, and then you take these numbers and put them in your financials, which is what the government does do. So you can then work backwards for when you see the government financials, how then come up with these things. Back to my original point, they have a general ledger that's saying that they should got $688 million in this sinking fund. There were no statements to support $90 million out of this money. So you ain't got no details at all. How you gonna be able to know where this money going, where it coming from, how you supposed to be able to work with things like this? Anyhow, the value of the sinking fund is supposed to be $619 million. So remember we said that they said they got a balance of 688. It's actually 619. So there ain't nothing confirmed from the central bank. I don't know why the central bank can send back a confirmation. There could be a million reasons. Maybe it got lost in the mail. Maybe the persons who are actually supposed to confirm it haven't gotten all the supporting documentation they need to be able to say with certainty this is the way it is. But basically, the confirmation responses, from the central bank indicated that the total is supposed to be $599 million, which is a variance of $20 million. So that's a lot of money. And $20 million, and you ain't too sure which one is supposed to be correct. You would assume that the central bank is supposed to be correct, which means they need to be making an adjustment. Is that adjustment going to be made? Because that's an adjustment to bring down the value. So a lot of people don't want to make them kind of adjustments. So that comes to the conclusion of my part 1 of the Auditor General's report. As you can see, they got real enough report left. But what I want to do is take this time to thank the people of Barbados for sharing the videos. I want to thank all of the Natalie Murrays out there who made their voices heard as a representation for the people. I want to thank everyone for the shares, the likes, the support, all the love that you have given, for the feedback as to whether I actually making sense to Una or not, because it is talking, you don't be sure. But thank you for the love and for the support. I hope that everybody enjoyed this first segment, and I hope that you look out for part 2, where I continue with the rest of the Auditor General's report, because it's real enough to get through. And I want to thank Trident 10 TV for allowing Krystle Clear to be able to air on their station in their lovely, lovely studio. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful, a blessed, and a savory Thursday evening. Today's Thursday? Yes, today is Thursday. Everybody have a fantastic night. Bye.